on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I am your host, Shillan on the radio for Big Dog, Inside Press, and all of the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. My co-host for this week's the Reset Show is backed by popular demand and popular guest on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, as he is one of our great hosts. He also worked for My MMA News, The Scrap, and RT Sport. He is, of course, if you haven't figured out yet, he has could I say the best mustache in all of MMA, or would that make? Let's see. We had Eddie Wineland last week on MMA Takeover, so he might have a fight. Of course, Uncle Creepy Ian McCall, but if maybe
retired,
maybe a top three at least. Mr. Drake Riggs. Drake, what's up, my man? How you doing?
Appreciate it, sir. Doing well. Happy to be here. Yeah, I don't know if all of MMA, maybe when I used to grow the handlebars out, I've been trimming those for a few years now. But in those days, I think it'd be up there. When it comes to MMA media, I think it's probably between me or Casey Layden. Shout out to Casey at MMA Fighting.
I don't think his is as thick as yours, though. Yours is pretty thick.
I don't know, man. When you see his in person, it's pretty.
Yeah, I have met him in person. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, you got the red in yours, so I'm going to give it to you. I'm a little
I appreciate it.
Redheads. So we're talking about an absolute action-packed night of fights. 11 fights went down this past Saturday at the UFC Apex, the first event since the Jacksonville. We had 3 fights in Jacksonville. We finally moved to Las Vegas after the North Nevada State Athletic Commission approved which is funny. They approved like the week of the fight to happen, and it's going to be our home for a little bit. It was, of course, UFC on ESPN 9. It was headlined by former welterweight champion Tyron Woodley taking on Gilbert Burns. The fight of the night, and we're going to talk about this one later, but the fight of the night award went to Brandon Royval and Tim Elliott, and the performance of the night bonuses were Mackenzie Dern and Gilbert Burns. Now, obviously, I just said Gilbert Burns won a performance bonus, so we're going to get right into it. In the main event, Gilbert Burns put an absolute clinic whitewashing on the former champion Tyron Woodley. Drake, let me ask you, what did you think of Gilbert Burns heading into the matchup, and what do you think of him now?
So, I've been high on Gilbert for, a little bit, really since he went to welterweight. It's hard not to have been right. I'm sure many people were kind of like, oh, look he's really kind of, turning things over. I mean, before he went to welterweight, when he was at lightweight, he was on a tear going into that Dan Hooker fight, which is where his momentum got stopped, right? Dan Hooker's great in his own right. But, Burns, people forget he was on the rise at lightweight before that Hooker fight, and then that kind of derailed him there. But then he won 2 more fights and then went up to welterweight. I don't remember if there was a specific reason why. Obviously, he's more comfortable there. Having talked to him since then and everything, he's finding his home very clearly. So, yeah, I thought that he could definitely, do some good things, as we've seen. He's pretty much one of those guys who the evidence is there. Like we've seen it. You don't really have too many questions about how much he can do, and he further showed it here tonight. So I feel pretty much the same about him, honestly, because I picked him to win the fight when he went and won the fight. So I'm not very surprised by this. Maybe personally I'd say his stock goes up a little bit more, obviously, just because you saw it happen. So yeah, nothing too drastic of a change in my opinion on Gilbert. I always thought that he could pull this off and hang with the best of them at welterweight. So yeah, I mean, he's right where he always was, in my opinion.
Okay, so you were high on Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is a guy that I was very high and head into this, so I didn't know that you picked Gilbert to win. I also picked Gilbert to win, which is rare. There was not many. We did a poll in the MMA Takeover group, and there was not many people on the Gilbert train. I'm going to pat myself on the back for a second, but I always feel weird doing this when I pick a fight. When I feel like I never feel like picking a fight right is worth patting yourself on. I feel like not only picking the fight right, but how it goes down. And I felt I broke this fight down. I thought Tyron Woodley looked old against Usman. I thought there was huge warning signs. I said, this is the guy that backs up near the cage. He's abandoned his wrestling a long time ago. I forgot who. I think Jay Petrie of Sherdog put out a stat, something like he's only had 6 takedowns in the UFC and like 4 of them was in the Carlos Condit fight. But also, this is a man that he has really changed into. He starts limiting his weapons. Like every fight, there's less and less weapons available to him, and it's at the point now where he is just a right hand, and he's a guy that he's always been known about his explosive timing. Like in a second, he could close a distance where wrestlers like a Josh Koscheck would close the distance into a takedown. Woodley would do that with a punch and then glass you. We've seen it against Stephen Thompson. But when you start to slow and you start to age, your window of opportunity is closing and closing. And I think like the window of opportunity in this fight against Gilbert Burns was so bad. The next one is probably going to be even worse if he goes against a top challenger. So, but before I pat myself on the back because I felt like I said Gilbert Burns was going to be too fast for him. I thought he could get some takedowns and I thought he was going to win a decision. I hit this perfect, but I also picked Shevchenko to beat Caitlin Chikagian. So
how dare
as I
you.
had one of my best picks of the year, I also had one of my absolute worst picks of the year. So when you balance them out, I think my worst pick, it was even worse than my best. So I'll still call it a losing night for me when it comes to the predictions. Gilbert Burns, it's weird. And it's funny why the reason why I asked you what did you think of him heading into the contest is I wanted to see if you had, I didn't know that you picked Burns, but there has been this drastic change. And I don't know if you saw this, but not only are people saying, man, I want to see Burns fight for the title. I want to see Burns fight top people. There's people saying like, he's a bad stylistic matchup for Kamaru Usman, who's his teammate, he's going on record saying that not only will he fight, he wants that fight next. And, the guy wants to be world champion and it's not personal, from his sound, like he says it's not personal, but he wants to be world champion and that's what he dreams of. But there's this crazy drastic, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't make predictions on fights way far ahead. I like to break down the fight. I like to break down the fight. I like to try to think as much factors and film study. But he looked fast. I loved his setups. Like he knew, you could see his fight IQ in the fight. He got to the point where he knew Woodley only has a right hand, and he was feinting, kind of drawing out the right hand, then to suddenly attack with his speed. It was perfect. And then that sometimes he would step back, wait for Woodley to over commit on it, and then time perfect takedowns. We know about his BJJ, and I think he gets a submission over other guys, but Tyron Woodley's very good on the ground. Man, I was blown away by this performance. This is by far the best one to Gilbert Burns. And let me ask you this question. We don't root, you're a media member, we don't root for, I root for whatever my prediction was. I want to be right. So I'm not rooting for the fighter. I'm rooting for myself.
Yeah, you're rooting for you to be right.
For the fighter. But Gilbert Burns, to me, he just seems like such a good story. Like, he's a guy who's active on Twitter. He's after every fight, he's like, I'll take that fight. Oh, somebody's hurt. I'll jump in. I'm 3 hours away. I'll drive in now. Oh, the guy's at middleweight. I used to fight at lightweight. I'll take that fight. Oh, it's 3 days from now. Oh, you need someone in Russia to fight at
Francis Ngannou? I'll take him.
Undefeated heavyweight. Sign me up. Like, he's doing grappling. Like, this guy is all over the place. He just seems like just a fun guy. Now, let me ask this question. Do you think it was a good thing for the UFC that Gilbert Burns beat Tyron Woodley, or would it have been better if Tyron Woodley won?
Yeah, I think it would have been better, or it is better, because, it's always good to have fresh blood and kind of get some new names out there, and having somebody to put on a performance like that against a notable name and a former champion, no less, I find that hard to not be a good thing. And, I do like the story of Gilbert Burns, and I kind of root for the fresh blood always. I like to see like change ups, like if Woodley continues to stay on top, you're like, that's great. Obviously you like Woodley because he's been around and everything, but at the same time, like, oh, it's always cool to see new guys get their opportunities, right? I like to see that always. And I draw similarities with Burns to Charles Oliveira, because, these are both two guys with their jiu-jitsu backgrounds, phenomenal at what they do on the ground, and have kind of taken the long road to now reach the elites of their division and look phenomenal at striking. Like, they've evolved.
I'm glad
so
you said
much.
that. I'm glad you said that, because that's the thing I was going to say exactly. Like, Charles Oliveira is a good striker now, and he doesn't get enough credit. He really doesn't get enough credit. Who's I can't think of who's Charles Oliveira fighting next. Does he have a match? I know he had, obviously.
I don't think he has one.
He didn't have one. Yeah, I know he just beat Kevin Lee. Yeah, no, Charles Oliveira, he's an exciting guy. The only thing that really I thought, and this is I have a two-part question for you. Colby Covington, I really felt like the UFC on multiple times blew it by not getting Colby Covington against Tyron Woodley. I felt like that was
Yeah.
a very marketable fight, the true bad blood, especially when Tyron Woodley was the champion. I thought they blew that one. Um, I thought now when Colby Covington lost, Tyron Woodley lost, I felt like that was the natural matchup to make. They didn't do it again. Covington, even though he's also coming off a loss. I mean, he went almost 25 minutes with the champion, had great moments, almost won the fight. Say what you want about Colby Covington, the person, what you like his gimmick. You cannot talk about his skill level. He is, to me, it's obviously Kamaru is one, and Colby Covington in a talent sense is number two for me. But that said, so I feel like he's still on top of the mountain, but Tyron Woodley, and tell me if you do disagree with the statement, not only is he falling down the mountain, it's going fast. To me, I feel like this is like the collapse. Like I feel like we're going to get to that, like have we seen with so many fighters. I think this is going to be a long stretch unless he gets some favorable matchups where he's going to go on a long losing streak. Am I wrong?
So I kind of wanted to bring this up when you were talking about, Woodley and his style and how he fought in this fight and, oh, he's getting older and stuff. Because I have kind of a hot take about this, and I tweeted it out this morning.
Here we go.
Potential hot take. You tell me what you think.
Should I have to play like a sound effect, like a warning? Like,
yes.
All right, guys, listen, we're not that high. Maybe we got to get on a board. We got to get a board soon.
Add some sound effects.
But this is our warning. Put down your coffee. If you're listening to this, some people listen to this Monday morning on the ride to work. Put down your coffee. And we don't want anybody to get hurt. Let's hear your hot take. Of course.
Okay, so I think there's a very, very strong argument to make here, and I fully believe this, but that this is the same Tyron Woodley that we've seen throughout his whole UFC run. I don't necessarily think he's declining or anything like that. If you look at, this is how he always fights. It's been a matter of the types of opponents he's fought in. He's got 4 UFC losses now. First one, Jake Shields, Rory McDonald, then Kamaru, and then, Gilbert Burns. Now, these are all guys with wrestling or, grappling bases who are calculated pressure fighters, not so much Jake Shields, but the other 3 for sure, with their striking, and they have that to fall back on, and they all essentially had their way. Well, this is the Jake Shields one's kind of half and half, but those other 3, they all did essentially the same thing. If you go back and watch the Rory McDonald fight, it pretty much looked just like the fight we saw last night, except without the knockdown, right? So, I mean, and the people that Woodley has all fought besides that and beat, they're, either been too aggressive and ran into that bomb they were talking about. He's always got that right hand, or they let him dictate the pace, like Robbie Lawler in the opening round of their fight. Early rounds, Robbie, he doesn't go crazy like the latter rounds, Robbie, right? He doesn't pressure on that same way. So I don't know, man. I think if you just look at every fight and the stylistic matchups and the fighters, when it comes to people who are more well-rounded overall, those are the guys that he can't really handle because of the way that he fights, and he's so cautious and, looks for that counter bomb, or if somebody's not pressuring him and gives him the chance to put it on, then he'll do it. But it's just those things. So I don't know. That's what I think. I think this is the same guy.
I think there's a lot to that. I really do. So let's just say this first and foremost. All right, suddenly, no, never mind. I was going to say something. There was something weird happened to my screen real quick. So how crazy is that he lost to Jake Shields? That's still like a really bad, that still seems like a guy that
at the time, not really.
I know. It just seems, maybe it's just my years of over or underestimating Jake Shields' skills. Like, he's not a guy that I was never really like a good wrestler, not a great wrestler, a good grappler, not a great grappler, a terrible striker, not a good athlete. But somehow, when you go through Jake Shields' resume, and I know this is the Jake Shields show, the names that are on his resume, it's like, where did this guy get that from? But anyways, side note, the only one I would disagree with that, and he was very cautious, I should say, in the Tyron Woodley. He kind of played the Tyron Woodley's hand. But usually Kelvin Gastelum, who Tyron Woodley did get a split decision, usually Kevin Gastelum fights a lot more aggressive. But I think you're onto something. He didn't pressure him based on the worry over the right hand. So if you get into that, as you say, you get too cautious, you actually fall into Woodley, because Woodley is the master of fighting a very slow pace fight. I mean, we saw Stephen Thompson. The 2 fights of Stephen Thompson are the perfect example.
Yes.
The reason why, and I think I'm not disagreeing with you. And I think
you're. I'll just say too that Kelvin arguably won that fight. Also,
it was a split decision. No, you're right. Absolutely, Kelvin. A lot of people believe he won. It was a split decision. The only thing I will say about what I I think Tyron Woodley. You ever go to the carnival and you have those the duck games that they go by and you shoot them and you get how many you can, and then suddenly it goes faster and suddenly it's a lot harder to shoot them. That's what I feel like Tyron Woodley. Like, there's a part where it was going slow and he can land that right hand, and obviously not the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But now it's harder to hit. The target is harder to hit, not because the target got faster, but he got slower. That's what I feel. So I think we're still on the same page.
Yeah.
So let's ask you this. Let's do some, and I don't know if usually we talk a lot longer about the main event than we normally do, but to me, there's not that much to say. I mean, it was an absolute whitewashing, and we'll get to that later. Tyron Woodley has lost 10 rounds in a row. Like
multiple 10-8s.
Yeah, 10-8s in both fights. I mean, Kamal Usman, think about this. This was such a beatdown, and this wasn't even the worst beatdown of Tyron Woodley's, in the last year. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's do some matchmaking real quick. Everyone knows, if you've ever listened to any show I'm on, they know that right now, I believe that welterweight is the best division when you add in the talent, the top of the division, the overall talent depth-wise, but also I've always said you need some star power. I think it's a combination of everything. It's my favorite division. So let's do some matchmaking. Who would you rather do first? These are the only people going to matchmake tonight. Would you rather do Burns or would you rather do Woodley?
I'll take Burns.
All right, so we'll start first. We'll let you go first, and then I'll go first with Woodley. So if your Gilbert Burns comes in, Gilbert. Listen, I usually have to put this like precursor where I say, all right, hypothetically, they'll fight anybody. You're the boss. But with Gilbert Burns, he'll fight anybody.
Yeah.
So Gilbert Burns, you're the boss. Who are you matching with next?
Okay, so it's him winning really makes things a lot trickier, right?
Absolutely. It was an easy answer. If Tyron Woodley won, there was an easy answer. Right?
Yeah. And I don't want to steal whatever your pick is, but I think that could still work for Woodley. It's obviously not the same. It doesn't have as much heat on it at this point now. That's obviously, that flame has died a lot. But Burns really shakes it up because there's like 3 different like branches to this tree, right? People want maybe title shot. You can make that argument.
I was shocked at how many people were not against it.
Yeah.
But how much momentum that had. There was fans. There was a lot of big name media. I can't remember. I think maybe Akamoto was calling. Like, there was a lot of people. I don't know. Oh, no, Sean Al-Shadi, I think, was saying that he wants to see Usman. But there's a lot of momentum for this. And I think they trained together. There's a backstory.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of that could be also to how he's gotten his social media presence out there so much too, like to really gain his following up in the last, this run he's been on.
And everybody who's saying this, from the Twitter the Twitter person who has 8 people following him, Gilbert Burns is going to find this tweet and he's going to retweet it. Yeah. Like, if you said Gilbert Burns next title shot, Gilbert Burns is going to retweet it.
He'll still see it, yeah.
He's going to find it.
So funny. But
it makes me wonder how many people just did that to get Gilbert Burns to tweet it.
Yeah.
or actually makes me wonder how many people were saying these really nice things, hoping they'd get it on ESPN.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of that going. There's a lot of generic ESPN tweets recently where people are no longer putting the F word in there. They're, cleaning it up a little bit.
Oh, suspicious. But yeah, anyway, so there's that title shot possibility. I can't skip over Leon Edwards, right? At the moment, 8-fight winning streak. That used to be the bar. That used to be automatic title shots for people. I like that. That's a lot of wins to put together. So not to get off of the Burns, matchmaking, but let's give Leon the title shot. But then Masvidal's over there. So in my perfect world, I'm doing Burns Masvidal next. I think that, between those 4 guys, really, I'm not going to be mad no matter who gets the title shot, whether it's Burns, Masvidal, or Edwards. It's just kind of a matter who you want to see first, and then hopefully not miss out on one of those, right? Because then the other two guys are going to fight, presumably. So I would go Burns Masvidal. That's a super fun fight, very interesting fight. And the funny thing though about this quadri, I don't know how you say which word you would use for that, but the four of them is I think that Masvidal is the least likely. I don't think he beats any of those guys probably
I
at the moment.
100% agree with you. He's the biggest star, and
Yeah,
I
but
100% agree with you.
so,
That's so funny that that's not what I expect you to say, but I'm with you.
yeah,
We're like two horses. We're like those two
you
horses.
know it.
We're just running together, brother.
So, but obviously, I think any of those fights between those four, no matter who you match them up with, even Masvidal in there, all really fun, interesting fights. But I would do Burns Masvidal right now. I don't know
All
if
right.
that's most likely to happen
Yeah.
realistically,
Yeah.
but
So to me, there's like a five fighters to the top. You have Usman, you have Masvidal, you have Edwards, you have Burns, and you have Covington. So someone, if you just put Burns versus Masvidal, Edwards versus Kamaru Usman, and you're kind of putting Kobe on the side.
yeah,
I'm agreeing. I'm putting Kobe to the side. I still put Masvidal just because of his star potential right now. The pay per view. I'm thinking business wise. I
yeah.
still want to get him in the title fight, and then I like Burns and Edwards. That said, I always look at matchmaking, not necessarily like this is who's first, this is who's second, but those like charts where it says you ask a question, if yes, go this way, if no, go that way, and then it
Yeah,
keeps
yeah.
branching out. That's why I feel like with the matchmaking, if Usman beats Masvidal, winner of Burns Edwards versus Usman, okay, and then Masvidal falls down, faces Covington. You still have the battle,
Ooh.
but if Masvidal wins, I'm sorry, even though, and I don't even like me saying this because you know me, I'm a little bit of a purist. I like this is why I'm saying Yamahovich
Yeah, we
should
both
get
are.
that title shot. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry if Masvidal's the man and he wins. Sorry, Edwards and Burns. I'm throwing. You guys are probably facing Usman, and I'm throwing Covington. So I have Covington fight after Masvidal faces Usman. Regardless, win or lose, I have the Covington because I thought they blew it with Woodley. They can't blow it with Masvidal now. I think Covington needs to fight Masvidal next. So let's go over to Woodley. You went first last time, so I'll go first this
Mhm.
time. I would like to. There's two really options. You can either go the veteran route, agent veteran, a guy like RDA, something like that. Kind of two guys in the same way. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he was supposed to get booked against Lawler. That's who he beat for the title. They were supposed to fight." Or you can go get the up and comer and have up and comer make a name. So the couple names that jump out to me: Vicente Luque,
Okay.
Santiago Ponzinibbio. And I know neither one of those guys are like super new on the scene, but Santiago Ponzinibbio,
Yeah.
like they're all missing
Timing.
that one big like springboard off of Woodley, and the other name, Jeff Neal. Like,
Ooh.
but if I only could pick one, I'd probably go with Vicente Luque, and this is why. Kamaru Usman, Gilbert Burns. What do they have in common?
Both beat Woodley.
But I'm sorry. The two guys who last beat Woodley, what do they have in common besides beating Woodley?
I don't know. I don't know what you're getting at here.
Hard Knocks 360,
Right.
365. Who
Oh,
else?
okay. I see
Vicente
now.
Luque. Let's do three in a row. Let's see if they can beat Woodley three in a row. Let's see if we get all three welterweights. See if he can figure out the Hard Knocks scenario. So give me your match. Who would you put Woodley against next?
So like I said, I do still think you can do that Covington fight. Obviously not necessarily the same. It wouldn't feel right as a main event with Woodley coming off of two just, dreadful performances, to be brutally honest. So yeah, that one doesn't feel as good. I mean, there's Wonder Boy trilogy. No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding on that one. Nobody wants to see that. I it's hard for me to imagine the UFC giving him somebody who's too far down the ladder. Like I like the Jeff Neal idea there, but I just can't realistically see that happening. I think that'd be fun. That'd be obviously a fantastic test for Jeff, who, biggest fight of his career,
Yeah.
really could catapult him. I feel like Chiesa could be the guy, just because if you think about Chiesa sticking to his guns, where he only wants a top five,
Sure.
top six, whatever guy he wants, then that kind of only leaves Woodley, assuming Covington's out of the mix too. If you think about all the guys who are ahead of him, um, obviously that's a tough one to go, back to back to back on. But I don't know. Maybe the real option could be retirement, because everyone's talking about that too. Maybe Woodley's done and all that. Even though made my argument earlier. Um, yeah, I think I would probably go with Chiesa,
Yeah.
honestly.
When you hear some of his comments now, he didn't talk about retirement, but just he's not really that disappointed. He sounds like a man that's a little broken, like, but not in the broken sense, like I need to get back on the horse. Just like almost satisfied.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him, like, if you could still make people offer of a name, I still like them to fight. And I'm not talking, like, I don't like seeing BJ. Like, at this point, BJ Penn's at the point where you beating BJ Penn, it's the opposite. Like, you can only ruin your name.
Yeah.
You can't build your name.
Yeah.
That I still think there's some room. Me and Ben Duffy, two recaps ago, UFC 249, we were just we did a little matchmaking, and Calvin Kattar we were talking about Calvin Kattar, what would be next, and we were talking about featherweight, and I was just saying, like, man, the division is so good that it's kind of easy. Like, sign me up for all of them. I feel the same exact way with welterweight. Like, we were just throwing names out, and I'm like, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
like Jeff Neal, sure. Michael Chiesa, sure.
Yeah.
Vicente Luque, sure. Like, yeah. There's some weight classes that's a little hard to match make. I don't think welterweight's in it. So let's move on to the co-main event. And the rest of the card, we won't go as long. We usually spend the most time on the main event. But Blagoy Ivanov versus Augusto Sakai. It was a split decision win for Augusto Sakai. Sakai has now won 4 in a row. There's a big thing we got to talk about in a second. This was for a heavyweight fight that goes the distance. I was pretty entertained. Like, I thought it was a pretty fun fight. Blagoy Ivanov is never a guy that, like, excites you when he fights. Sakai's a guy, like, I don't know he's never going to win the title. Let's be honest. I don't think he's a good enough athlete, but he moves pretty well for heavyweight. He's got long length, uses his kicks well, and he has decent takedown defense, especially when his takedown consists of grabbing the fence. So anyways, that said, I kind of like Sakai's ability. That said, this was a back and forth fight. I thought he lost the first round. Clearly won the second round. I don't know what the referee was looking at. One referee gave a 30-27 for Ivanov, and then won the third round. In my opinion, I thought it was the right decision. Mm-hmm. That said, the judges have to score the fight based on what the referee gives them. The referee does not call a foul. That said, oh my Lord, Ivanov might have got screwed. Now, I want to say might, because we don't know if Akai might have just bounced right back up to his feet. So I want to say might. I will not say he got robbed. But that fence grab, I mean, talk to me about it.
I mean, that... I don't know. It's pretty intense. We don't see too many fence grabs result in points, but the ones that we have seen, right, they were very similar to that. Let's put it that way. Like, the one I remember the most, I think, is Yoel Romero and Jacare. Mark Goddard was the referee, and clearly prevented a takedown from happening, right? And sure, maybe he's going to bounce back up, but he was going down. He was going down no matter what. Gravity was doing its thing. So that should have been a point taken. If you're going to compare, like, the situations and what is taking it and how bad it was, it prevents the action from happening. So I think that's got to be a point deduction. Whether he's going to get back up or not, you don't know. You got to let it see. That's where it was going to go, right? But we'll never know. So,
I mean, you got a world champion in Sambo getting a takedown. There's a very good chance he's not getting back up. And now, this is back-to-back fights with Blagoy Ivanov was so close to winning. I mean, he had the Derek Lewis loss, now this loss. Man, I kind of feel bad for the dude.
Yeah.
That said, we never ever see fights overturned. And I mean, to me, why wouldn't you appeal it based on? I mean, it's pretty bad. Like, he's about 50% of the way down. If you overturn it, is it anything the commission can do, or do you think it's just an absolute waste of time?
Actually, I think that, contesting rule infractions, there's it's hard to say a lot better chance, but I think there is definitely a better chance than when decisions are like, oh, people disagree with the decision. You're like, all right, I think I was robbed. I'm going to contest the decision. Say it was a split decision. Edson Barboza's contesting his last two or whatever, something like that.
Not going to get overturned.
That I don't think that has literally ever happened, right? Because the judges don't want to admit they're wrong, right?
No, you're admitting your people. You're admitting your own people are wrong. The people you assigned.
Yes, yeah.
Now, they assigned a referee too, but.
Yeah, but in that case, with the rule infractions, that's something that is there's evidence to those, right? As for the decision, those are judgments, opinions, and all that. And it makes more sense, I would say, for them to have trouble doing that. And this is the only one I can really remember. But if you look at Invicta, when Tanya Evinger fought Yana Kunitskaya, the first fight, you know where I'm going with this, when there was the illegal maneuver done that ended up resulting in Tanya getting armbarred and losing her title. And then she contested that and actually ended up winning it because
that's true.
It was an illegal maneuver. So obviously we didn't see like something that ended the fight right after that happened. So maybe that makes it harder in this case. But let's say something similar happened. Then it'd be like, yeah, man, I'm totally going to contest this. He should still do it in this case just to see what happens, right? I mean, it doesn't hurt to try and contest it or get it overturned, But overall, I think contesting infractions or should be infractions, that's the way to go. I mean, you should feel a lot better about the chance there. I mean, who knows how high it is, compared to decisions and all that. But I mean, I think there's much more solid cases to be made for things we can actually see, specific things.
Yeah, I don't give it. I'm not going to bet that it gets overturned, but I actually agree with you. I think if it has a much better case than most of these things that we see go to the commission, maybe he gets a no contest. And honestly, I'm okay with that because we don't know. He could have popped right back up, but he might not have. Blagoy might get on top of him late in the fight. He's tired, ground and pounds him. Maybe he gets a submission. Who knows? I was thinking about, while you were talking, you mentioned the Yoel Romero Jacare fight. Some of the fence grabs that automatically jump right to my mind. I think of Tito Ortiz, Rashad Evans. Remember when at their first fight where Tito was grabbed the fence and there was a point taken away? The other one that came to my mind is Jose Aldo versus Chad Mendez in their first fight.
That's a good one.
Which he basically pulled himself up and then lands the knee. And then the going way back when Fedor
that one wasn't a deduction though. By the way, I don't think that was a point deduction.
No, he got the knockout right afterwards. Like
they
probably won him the fight. I mean, he was getting taken down. I mean. And he used the fence to get up. And the other one going way back when Fedor Emelianenko was basically king at heavyweight division. Matt Lindland went up 2 weight classes to Bodog. This is the one, and that's not a fence, it was a rope. But when they fought in Bodog in Russia, this will go down to me as the worst one ever. Fedor basically, I don't know if you remember what fight I'm talking about.
I haven't seen this one.
He hooks his arm over the fence for like 20 seconds. The referee does nothing. The referee's like kind of hitting his arm. Matt Linden keeps pulling him, trying to get him over.
God.
To the point, wait. To the point where Matt Linden tries, he's got double underhooks, and he's trying to take him down. This is a guy who's silver medalist in the Olympics. And this guy's is a high level.
Yeah.
He got double underhooks. You're going down. This is Matt Linden. I don't even at heavyweight. To the point where Matt Linden goes for a throw. While Fedor's going there, he grabs the fence, which causes Lindland to not get the move all the way over, to get basically stopped midway in the air, to Fedor landing on top of Lindland, and now Fedor on top is a wrap. And this is when Fedor was no one in the world was giving Lindland. He's moving up 2 weight classes to take on Fedor. And he not only was the heavyweight king, most people had him the pound for pound king. That is one of, and I'm sure there's other ones, but off the top of my head, That's the one that still bothers me. You can tell how passionate I am
Yeah, that
about it.
sounds very bad. I need to check that out.
Speaking of, and this is why I'm trying to be the best man. Speaking of robberies, I want to talk about the biggest robbery of the night. Billy Quintillo,
Mhm.
make sure we say it right. Quintillo beat Spike Carlisle by unanimous decision. I am not saying the biggest robbery is that Spike Carlisle did not win. The biggest robbery is that this fight didn't win fight of the night. What? I saw
Yeah.
people. Jay Petrie on Sherdog was talking about like we have our yearly awards. We try to track. He's like, I'm putting that one up for fight of the year. It didn't even win fight of the night. Are you kidding me? Who the hell picks these? Who like is Dana White picking them, or is there a guy who is assigned to picking the award? Like who's picking? Tim Elliott, Brandon Royval was fantastic, but not better than this one. Am I wrong?
No, I agree. I was kind of surprised to see that Royval actually did get his bonus. Good for him. Obviously, his post fight interview made me kind of sad about it.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, I was like,
So,
dude, how much does this guy hate his job? He was talking about where do you work, brother?
I know. So, obviously, good for him, happy for him. And I think that they said they'll give some kind of bonus to, these guys too. But yeah, I think it should have got fight of the night. And I was very kind of surprised also to see Gilbert get performance of the night just because he didn't get a finish. So
yeah,
that was a little
main
surprising.
Event always gets too much credit. It's something that Marcel talks about. I've talked about. I think it's like weighted. It's weighted that the higher up your card, the higher you get, which is really even more surprising that this one didn't get it because it's third for the top.
Yeah, seriously. And when it was just so ridiculous.
And don't forget, this fight was supposed to be on the prelims. And when Kevin Holland was pulled out, this one replaced the Danny Rodriguez fight. Rodriguez, another fight, good fight, but that one dropped down. So let's talk about that fight. Regardless of how good Spike Carlisle is, I'm going to enjoy watching that guy fight. This guy comes out just absolutely. The first half of the first round, he comes out and just bull rushes Quintillo.
He went for a front kick, running front kick.
No setups. I'm going to front kick you, then I'm going to throw you, and then as we hit the ground, I'm going to try a pile driver, and then I'm going to go to a wrestling small package, then I'm going to do a flying elbow drop off the cage. This guy there's no strategy to Spike Kyle. It is just pure aggression. And dude, sign me up. Win, lose, or draw. Dude,
Alpha Ginger.
Give this guy, I'm all, see, he's the gym too. But dude, sign this guy to a lifetime contract. You want to fight, we'll find someone to fight. I'm all in, man. And that said, Quintillo, Carlisle landed big shots, but Quintillo, man, how tough is this guy? This guy dug deep, got a lot of takedowns, some crazy scrambles. Quintillo was working from the bottom. He kept moving nonstop. Carlisle, about midway through the fight, he started losing position. But what I was really impressed with him, he would take a couple seconds, gather himself, and then suddenly explode. And Quintillo couldn't hold down. Now, and vice versa, when Quintillo was on the bottom, he would just keep moving. Whether he'd be elbowing on the bottom, he would be constant moving, while Carlisle was more he moving in spurts. After the first half of the first round, because then the first half he went straight berserker, and I loved it. This was probably the closest fight, controversial back and forth. Who you scored? I scored 29-28 for Quintillo. I gave rounds 2 and 3. How did you score?
Yeah, I had the same initially. So in my official scorecard, I gave a 10-8 the last round to Billy, just because, he was rather dominant, and then the end kind of made it close. I think I might disagree with my own card there on initial watching, but either way, I do think that the right man won this one. So I do agree with you.
Yeah, so we both agreed on this one. The only thing crazier than the very beginning of round 1 for Spike Carlisle is the very end of round 1, where for some reason
he's like, all right.
I said to my wife, I said, maybe he heard the clapper and he thought that was.
There's no one in the stadium.
No. They still did the 10-second clapper. I think they're telling the team to get ready, because I heard it. I said maybe he got a 10-second clapper and he wasn't thinking, just that was the buzzer or something. And then I rewound it just because I'm trying to figure out what it was. They hit the clapper and he hit him another 2 times. So I'm like, what wasn't that? And then he just got up and walked away. Like, just turned his back. Like, did he? I mean, the guy's a little nuts. Like, something in his brain tell him, like, hey, dude, the round's over. I have no idea. But anyways, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if Spike Kyle was on top of Billy Quarantillo hitting him, 10 seconds, 8 seconds, he just gets up and turns around.
Too many seconds.
and walks back to his corner completely with his back turned. Quarantillo jumps to his feet, realizes the round's not over, and runs at him and throws a left hook and connects it. The only thing crazy this whole night would have been if he knocked him out with that punch.
Oh, my God.
If he knocked him out, that would be replayed for seconds.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Anyways.
It would have been similar to the Eve Edwards and Josh Thompson knockout.
But the Thompson was trying to escape,
yes,
this guy
he wasn't walking away, but from behind the back is what I'm getting at.
If you know what it reminded me of? Josh Koscheck, Paul Daly, like after the fight when Paul Daly went up and punched him. It was like, so basically Kyle did a Paul Daly, but it wasn't a cheap shot. It was legal. The fight was still on.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, still that fight was fantastic. Before that, another fight that it was a lot of fun, a lot of bad blood hanging into the fight. Brock Weaver versus Roosevelt Roberts. Both guys coming off the Contender Series. Both guys, when I do a Contender Series preview, I do tons of tape story. I was not that high in either guy. Prospects. Same. I was high in Antonia Shevchenko, so I should continue to shut up because she's made me look really bad. But I wasn't that high. I'm changing my narrative on Roosevelt Roberts. Even the Vince Pichel, I felt like that was like that loss you need early in your career. I kind of, and I'm not saying he does this, but a lot of times guys are feeling himself. Everything's working for you. Sometimes you need a beating. Sometimes you need a loss to like, oh, okay, I'm not invincible.
Mm-hmm.
But he looked fantastic. Weaver, to Weaver's credit, Weaver's tough. He always presses the pace, and he was pressing the pace, and he was getting pieced up. I mean, Roberts, in my opinion, was way too long for him, way too fast, and just better everywhere between the wrestling, the striking, and what I was really is, I'm trying not to get too excited because I'm changing my opinion on Roberts, but I gotta keep reminding myself, wait, you weren't too high on Brock Weaver. Like, are you? Is this this is a lack of competition? You shouldn't look good against a lack of competition. So am I like, is me changing my opinion on Roberts and saying, well, this guy looks pretty good? Is that like, is that it? Is it? I shouldn't be changing my opinion. Like, pump the brakes, or do you agree with me?
Now that you say that, I think that you probably shouldn't, because I was feeling kind of the same way, because I was like, man, that was the best Roosevelt Roberts I've ever seen. This guy's legit. I wasn't even thinking about, he beat Brock Weaver. So not, the best, the highest level opponent that he could have done that against. So yeah, you're bringing me down a little bit with that, which is good. You're putting me back on a level playing field. Obviously great performance, but that's how he's supposed to look, right? At this level he's fighting at. So yeah, let's change the opinion here. Well said.
Yeah, I mean, that division is so loaded. I hope they do like a slow climb with him. So he lost to Vince Pichel. He beat Brock Weaver. Let's find someone in between the two of them. Someone not as good as Vince Pichel, someone better than Brock Weaver, see if you can get by that person. I don't have a name. I wasn't prepared, but, someone. Maybe a veteran guy somewhere in between. I think that'd make a good matchup for Roosevelt Roberts. And before that, the opening fight on the main card, we saw history, and I want to double check because nobody knows women's MMA than the big pervert himself. The big expert himself, Drake Riggs.
Wait a minute.
Drake, we had Mackenzie Dern, Hannah Cyphers. Mackenzie Dern was the first female to pull off what was the official? Was it a knee bar that she got, or was it?
Yeah, it was a knee bar.
Okay, it was the knee bar. Was it a first official knee bar, or was it first just any? I think they said any leg lock, any leg type submission. So leg lock, heel hook. Is that what they said, or am I wrong?
No, they just said any leg submission in UFC history.
Yeah, any attack on a leg. So in the first round, Mackenzie Dern, multiple time world champion BJJ, is high a level BJJ there is in women's MMA, gets the submission. There's so many things I want to talk about this fight, and I don't want to spend too much time. Hannah, this is the way I feel about this fight. Mackenzie Dern, I don't know if this is possible, and tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like she went down in my view of her in a first round record submission. In a record submission finish, I'm less confident than I was in this. Hannah Cifers was putting on. Hannah Cifers is as low a UFC level female. I mean, I don't expect Hannah Cifers to win another match in the UFC. Maybe one. Who knows? But she's not a high talent. She'll never win a title. She'll never challenge for a title. She'll never break in the top 10. She's not that good. And I'm not trying to come at Hannah Cifers. I got no beef with Hannah Cifers, but I'm just talking about her skills. She's not that good. That said, Dern struggled to get her down. She struggled to close the distance. And I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. And this is the rant anybody's heard knows my listen, anybody knows me knows I am the ultimate. Listen, you can't spell Shillan without shill. I am the ultimate shill when it comes to wrestling. I worship at the feet of the throne of wrestling. I am a wrestling guy. That's my sport. I am for wrestlers. Okay, I'm biased. I know I'm biased to wrestlers. I've heard it a million times. Okay, yes, all right. I've always had a beef with wrestlers versus jiu-jitsu people. I've been saying for years and years and years and years that jiu-jitsu needs to spend half their practice drilling takedowns. Because how good is it to get a submission if you can't take them down? If you need to get to the ground to get a submission, but you can't get them down, you're going to be limited. To me, if Mackenzie Dern doesn't figure out something when it comes to taking females down, whether it is some slick way that she can just come underneath and pull a half guard, like pulling them down, something Damian Meyer has done when he wasn't able to get people down, where you kind of take them down, get a half guard, sweep, or even go straight Ryan Hall, not current Ryan Hall, but in early, coming up on the Ultimate Fighter show and the couple of early fights where it's Imanari rolls. She needs to figure out something because duck your head and throw punches in, it's not going to work. Tell me why I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Honestly, that's been Mackenzie's biggest issue throughout her whole career is her lack of really any offensive ability to get the fight down in a normal manner, if that makes sense. Like when it gets down, she's doing it very sloppily, right? It's not very technical the way that she gets people to the ground, and there's usually not a takedown. Definitely not a single or a double.
Can I pause you for a second? Even this, she had a nice like judo throw. Even that she overthrew it and almost lost it. She didn't control when you throw like in wrestling, be like a lateral drop or something, or even like they call it like a head, like a kind of like a headlock, a lazy man headlock. You can't overthrow it. She even like halfway through, you have to like settle. You have to they call it finding your weight or settling your weight. She didn't even do. She almost missed that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, continue.
So, yeah, no, I don't know if I would say that. I mean, yeah, I guess the points do drop for her a little bit. For me as well. How you were saying that even though she won and broke some history here, that the stock goes down a little bit because it's kind of the same Dern that we've always known so far, but she's being stifled a little bit more. And I think that's credit to Cifers, though. She's deceptively strong for, how small she is. She should honestly probably be fighting at atomweight, but, UFC doesn't have an atomweight division. I bet that if she ever leaves, she could go, somewhere and fight there and be a lot better off than at strawweight. I don't think she's as bad maybe as you do, but I think that she's definitely, it's safe to say she's better suited for atomweight. No doubt about that. But I think that her fight IQ was also her biggest issue here. Her enemy Cifers is because as soon as she got up and out of, being on the ground with Dern, because there was that moment where she continued though to strike a little bit. Yeah. Once you get up, get away as soon as possible. She played around.
I don't know how much of a chance she had though to get away.
Yeah, but I mean,
it is.
She didn't really try.
No, you're absolutely no. I'm not disagreeing. I'm 100% agree with you. I don't know if she just had the ability to.
Yeah.
But you got to go. You got to figure. So you got to
Yeah.
It's got to be like my kids play this game where we spread out things on the ground and you have to jump between. They're little kids. They jump between a pillow to a blanket, and everything in between is hot lava.
Of
But
course,
my son
yeah.
likes his cheat. Like if he hits the hot lava, he can like he doesn't understand that lava. You touch it one time, your whole leg is burnt off, and you're never gonna walk again. You're gonna die. Like forget it, you die. He like I only touch it for a second. Like she should have been like Mackenzie Jones should have been hot lava. Like get the hell away from her. Run, Shambo, super quick feet. Get the hell away as fast as possible. Hot lava.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That was it's pretty much how it went. You know.
Yeah,
That's all I can say.
we need this to be a video version to see me going crazy over hot lava.
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't want to get because you need to advance, and unless I don't think the Ryan Hall style of the pulling him. No, he's changed his style a lot. But even when I said she needs to get home, I want the Ryan Hall to be the next step, and then the Damian Maia be the next step, and then sort of actual takedown game.
Yeah,
but she's still young. Speaking of hot lava, someone did not tell Antoina Shevchenko that Caitlin Chikagian was hot lava because Caitlin Chikagian, fantastic strategy. This was by far my worst game plan, my worst pick game plan wise. I said if Shevchenko she's got to keep the distance, continue moving, jab. She's a deadly striker, and I said Caitlin Chikagian. Yes, she trains with Renzo Gracie's team. She trains with John Danaher. We've never really seen her on the ground. She plays an outside kickboxing game. I said, I expect her just training with those people would be better on the ground than Shevchenko, but I can't be confident she'll get it there because she likes to take an outside game. I felt like this might be a good stylistic matchup. Boy, was I wrong because she looked freaking like Dan Gable out there with her takedowns. I mean, good Lord. I mean, I first of all, I think the small cage killed Antoina Shevchenko. That said, she didn't really create space for herself. She wasn't moving. She wasn't making herself be a moving target. And her wrestling, I always knew it would be the Achilles heel, but it is really bad. Like it's really bad. And she's up there in age. She's not going to fix it. I was trying to think of this. Can you think of an example of someone who started off their career with bad takedown defense, and that was the Achilles heel, who at one point improved it so much where they had good takedown defense and it didn't hurt their game? Like I thought maybe Czech Congo, early Czech Congo maybe.
That's a solid one. The first person that came to mind, but is wrong. I had Connor come to mind, which no, I don't think that's fair.
I don't know if he's fixed it.
But I think a good one is Robbie Lawler.
Robbie Lawler, okay. I don't know if you think he had bad takedown defense early in his career.
I mean, he got taken down a lot more than he did in the more recent half. I would say.
I think Evan Tanner got some takedowns on him, and that might be a good example.
And Mayhem, Tim Kennedy. There's a lot of guys. If you look at the Strikeforce run too,
those guys are a lot bigger. Middleweight.
It's also
not Miller. Miller was also former welterweight too. People forget that he was at one point welterweight. In his first run of the UFC, he was at welterweight. His one match. Do you know who his first match in the UFC was against?
GSP.
Oh, can you imagine that? Oh my Lord! They're like, hey, welcome to the UFC. Get arguably the greatest fighter ever.
But that was like GSP's maybe third or fourth fight too.
I saw a guy. I can't remember. I think his name was Anthony Ruiz or something like that.
Yeah.
There was a guy. I was at a fight in Worcester, Massachusetts, at a Holiday Inn ballroom. I saw I think his name was a Hispanic name or something like that, like Anthony Ruiz, Hector Ruiz, something like that. He had one MMA fight ever. Do you know who that one fight was against? John Jones. Imagine you're like, I'll try it one time. John Jones.
Whoop.
And I was there. I saw John Jones fight. What was it? Anthony Ruiz or something like that.
We'll have to look up his record.
Anthony Pena, something like that. Look up John Jones. It's like his third or fourth fight ever. I was there in attendance. And could you imagine?
Poor guy.
There's another guy. I can't remember. There's another guy who has two MMA fights in Pride. Japanese guy. I can't think of his name. But his 2 fights were against Fedor Emelianenko and Mirko Krokop. But in all fairness, that's kind of pride for you.
Yeah.
Anyways, so back to this fight I don't know how the hell we got way off topic.
Yeah, I know. Really.
We're talking about takedown defense. Yeah, that's my point. My point is the amount of people that have improved their takedown defense, and it is people throw this out. All I got to do is improve their takedown defense, and they'll be a killer. Takedown defense is a skill that takes wrestlers years and years and years to develop. It's just people just throw it out there like simple thing like, oh, if you're gonna go for run, put your shoes on. Like, just gotta put your shoes on. Like, no, there's a lot more to running than just putting your shoes on.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Shevchenko. Onto Caitlin Chikagian. Is there really anything you could take from the Caitlin Chikagian fight? Like, from her performance, like anything you feel better about her? Like, you feel worse? Like,
I do feel better about her. I mean, honestly, this did not surprise me at all. I thought it was absolutely hilariously stupid how Shevchenko was getting favored by so many people just because of the Shevchenko name, and she was the underdog, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, just the short-term memory, man. Like, we saw this exact same thing happen a fight ago with Roxy when they pushed Antonina, tried to get her. I don't know why they're trying to get her into the top 5, considering who the champion is, man. It makes no sense to me. They have mishandled Antonina so bad. Just to rant a little bit, dude.
She's good looking. She's got a name. Is that it?
It drives me insane. It drives me insane because, like, I like this fighter, but why are you doing him this way? This is not the way to do it. Not all Shevchenkos are created equally, man. And as for Caitlin, though, I think what I liked most about this performance, I'm not surprised that she did so well on the ground. She's talked about how she would love to take fights to the ground and show off, the skills she has there, but she has never needed to, right? I mean, except for, maybe the Valentina fight, but she just couldn't in that one, right? So I like, though, that she went there. Her game plan in this fight wasn't to strike first, how it normally is, wherever she's comfortable. She decided, let's take it to the ground rather than, all right, let's see if I can hang on the feet, where I think she still could have won because Antonina, more aggressive than Valentina with her striking. And I think that would have been better for Caitlin as opposed to how Valentina fights. But yeah, the thing I liked most was the game plan and the fight IQ that Chookagian showed to even, take the fight where it wisely should have been taken in the first place, right? So I thought that was good because I wasn't so sure if she would. But hey, she did it. So that's good to see that she's kind of adjusting in that regard.
Yeah, I liked in the third round where she started like standing with Antonina and then started losing and goes, yeah, what am I doing? And then closes the distance. Even like she didn't get the takedown, like she just closed the distance and stayed on.
Yeah.
Spent long periods in the clinch. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, what am I doing? Like, this is the reason why I was going in for takedowns already. Exactly. She started to jab my face off. The only thing I take from Caitlin was she was talking a lot about retirement. She said that, she plans on having a baby soon, and when she has a baby, she's not going to fight anymore. And I understand that especially from a mom's perspective, it's so important for a mom to be around a kid. She's 31 years old, so I mean, kind of, she's at that peak age to have a baby. And I think some of it, besides wanting to be a mom and obviously putting your children first, but also I think she's also came to the realization, and she's happy. Like, she made it super high. She fought for a title, but also the realization the champion of the division is Valentina Shevchenko. One of the it's unbelievable dominant. We've seen the skill difference between the two of them. And then if she goes back up to bantamweight where she started, the champion of that division is Amanda Nunes. Like, she's got a huge gap to catch up, and I think she kind of realized that that's not going to happen. So yeah, I don't think we might see. I actually believe her. I don't think we'll see Caitlin Chookagian fighting that more. That's the biggest takeaway I got from that one.
Yeah, just to say something real quick, I imagine that if she loses, whenever her next loss comes, that'll probably be the last one, right? Because why not ride out the wave of winning, kind of like Nina Ansaroff did right before she's pregnant now. She said, once I lose, then I'm going to focus on family, and that's what she's doing now. So yeah, I think it'll be something similar. But Ansaroff plans to come back, though.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlin Chookagian, she'll come back too. Everybody comes back. I mean,
yeah, good point.
No one retires in combat. I mean, we got Mike Tyson he hasn't fought in 15 years. And they're talking about him coming back. So speaking of coming back, I don't know how I'm making this transition, but coming back to the card here, Daniel Rodriguez and Gabe Green. This fight, Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to fight Kevin Holland on almost record-setting turnaround for Kevin Holland. Instead, Holland, they never really disclosed why he was removed. But Gabe Green moved in, short notice fight. He took the fight in like 4 days. So impressed by him. Now, he was outclassed, outstruck. But the pace this guy set, he knew his best chance was to get to the pocket, to fight in a phone booth, and he did everything in his power to get there. He marched forward for 15 minutes, ate every single jab that Danny Rodriguez threw, ate every single straight right, straight left, because he's southpaw, straight left that Danny Rodriguez threw. I feel not as crazy about Gabe Green as I did with Spike Carlisle, but if he can fight like this, he's going to be fun to watch. So sign me up for seeing Gabe Green again. The other thing, Danny Rodriguez, not the most athletic guy, a little flat-footed, but I like his just basic technique, jabs, straight punches, and I was really impressed. And going back to when I used to do a show with John Franklin, he always talked, anytime we listen to the All Angle shows, I'm always impressed with the guy's vision. Israel Adesanya always says, then Conor McGregor always says, they see their target, they hit their target, and I feel that with Danny Rodriguez. I don't think he's going to be a top 15 guy, but he is someone that I'm a little intrigued to see. Like I think he's gonna beat a lot of fighters that are more athletic than him, that most people didn't get a chance. Like even not that Tim Means is a big great athlete, but a good tough veteran in your first fight. I like Danny Rodriguez. I've turned the corner on Danny Rodriguez.
Yeah, no, definitely a very good win. Very wild fight. I actually didn't see this one full. I was watching kind of on and off, but every time I was looking at the screen, I was like, oh my, things are happening in there. So yeah, I can't comment too much, but definitely I was impressed by that Tim Means performance. So I was looking forward to this one, and look at him get 2 in a row now in the UFC, and his win streak's like pretty long now, isn't it? Like 8 or 9 or maybe 7.
Yeah, something
he extended
like that.
it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's 8. They said. Speaking of not seeing much, Clitson Abreu did not see much in his fight against Jamal Hill. This was one of the fights that I said I flip-flopped back and forth all week because I thought Jamal Hill has a huge hole in the grappling. Clitson Abreu is a little gun-shy. Well, Jamal Hill, 6'4", long-rangey guy, absolute sniper in this fight. Everything he threw was landing, using his, using knees, just picked apart Clitson Abreu. I'm still worried about that takedown defense. I'm still worried about his, not necessarily his like submission defense or anything, but his inability to get back up. But on the feet, this guy's going to be a problem. I mean, obviously he has the range, he has the speed, and like I just said about Danny Rodriguez, he was seeing his punches. They were coming easy to him. He wasn't throwing and hoping to land. He was seeing his target and hitting it. Should people be high on Jamal Hill?
Yes, but cautiously, right? Because I think that's a great point about the takedown defense. It's one of those fights where, man, he looked awesome, but you didn't get to see if he improved in the area we need to see him improve in, right? So it's like take it with a grain of salt, kind of good. So yeah, I'd say yes and no. A cautious yes. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, Stoicek. You think about how many the takedowns Stoicek was getting on him and stuff, and he actually was when he was landing takedowns, he kind of turned Jamal Hill to get a little gun shy. Jamal Hill was unwilling to throw because he knew Stoicek was timing some takedowns. So that's not really. And the other thing about Jamal Hill that stands up, he's 29. Like he's not a young. He seems like he's younger than he is, but he's not. I mean, he should be in his prime now. Overall, that said, it's still a very positive fight for him in one of the more shallow divisions, light heavyweight. They need some new blood. So generally, I'm pretty happy with Jamal Hill's performance. Speaking of newcomers, this is the fight that I put down an A+ next to you when I was grading the fight. Absolutely A+ fight between Tim Elliott and Brandon Royval. Incredible scrambles. I wrote down in my notes, I put incredible scrambles in 2 spots. I don't know if that was on purpose, but maybe I need to overemphasize. Like there was some fun scrambles. If you like, speaking of wrestling, if you like, they call it funk wrestling. If you're a funk wrestling fan, and if people know what I'm talking about, there's some really funk wrestling styles. There's a style where you're really looking to get a pin. You're willing to take chances to get pins. And you're also not willing to do your normal, you get a takedown, go to your stomach, you're fighting Grambling in different ways. Incredible. Tim Elliott was landing so many takedowns at Brandon Royval early. Royval kept moving, kept the pressure on him. And then Tim Elliott, man, he one point he was squeezing a lot of submissions in, and I think that gassed him out. At one point they hit a scramble. Brandon Royval ended up on top, right into a head and arm triangle, got the submission. Just a fantastic fight. If you love the Funk Wrestling game. That said, I'm so torn on Brandon Royval. And this is what I'll tell you, and tell me if you agree or disagree. The good. He just beat Tim Elliott. Say what you want about Tim Elliott. He's got a terrible record in the UFC, but he's much better than his record indicates. So that's the problem. He's going to be instantly, as Daniel Cormier kept saying over and over, and on Monday, wrong, on Tuesday when the rankings come out, not Monday, DC. But when the rankings come out, he's going to be ranked. He just beat Tim Elliott. The negative is, man, that takedown defense. Sure, he's slick off his back. He looks for submissions. He scrambles. You get a power wrestler in the flyweight division. This is a huge, huge element. We were talking about Jamal Hill. You get an Askarov. He's not going to be able to scramble out of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's not in the division anymore. But say he, back in the day when Henry Cejudo, you're not going to scramble like Guillermo Gomez taking out. So I'm on the fence. Like, I see a lot of people going crazy around. I'm on the fence. So if you're standing next to me on the fence, which side are you pushing me to? Which side do I need to fall on?
Yeah, I'm still a little hesitant with him too. I mean, obviously a very good win. I was surprised by the win, submitting Tim Elliott. That's always a big thing, even though, we've seen him submitted before and everything, but not against a newcomer, right? And very impressive debut. I don't know. I feel like Tim was a little bit off in this fight, honestly. Towards the end, maybe he did get a little bit gassed, which, shows he was a little bit off. But I don't know. He was super relentless with the takedowns. I felt like a little bit more than normal. Like, he wasn't confident in his striking against Royval, like, at all. Like, it just didn't seem like
That's not him. That's not him.
Yeah.
He has this weird, awkward boxing style that works for him somehow.
Yeah. So I thought that was a little bit weird how he was so intent on just needing it on the ground, right? But created for a fun fight in that area. But yeah, it's a great point. Imagine, Royval versus Askarov in his debut. Probably not. Well, it feels like almost a guarantee, not the same result, right? After seeing that, knowing what we know now. But yeah, it's always good to have new blood in the flyweight division. Always surprising to have new blood in the flyweight division. So I think that's the positive. But again, it's kind of like Jamal Hill, like you said, a cautious yes to be excited. There's still more to be desired, right?
Let me ask you this. Well, you said Tim Elliott looked uncomfortable on the feet, awkward, just didn't seem himself. Any of that have to do with James Krause not cornering him? Because James Krause sat this one out because James Krause works with Factor S. He has a lot of connection with Factor X. He trains out of Factor X himself. He has his own team, trains Tim Elliott, but with the connections with Factor X, working particularly with Brandon Royval at times, he wanted to sit it out, and I understand it. Do you think that had any effect on Tim Elliott?
Yeah, I think it definitely could have because, he's there every time as far as I know. And it was also weird. I don't know if you saw the clip of in between rounds when Elliott was like, it's too quiet in here. And everyone's like, wait, this doesn't make sense for you to be complaining really about the atmosphere when, you won the Ultimate Fighter season 25.
If anybody should be
24.
It should be you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, people were like, oh, he's making excuses for being tired and all that. Mentally, I think he was off. That very well could have been the lack of Krause being there. Because you get so comfortable with, what you have going on. And especially, it's not like an entire camp change, right? It's just one little tweak. If it was like, okay, he's fully resetting somewhere else, I think that's a lot different and easier to maybe, because you get comfortable with that going in. Because I'm sure he still worked with James a little bit going into the fight, right? I mean, maybe he helped out both guys a little bit, something like that. So, yeah, just maybe there was something that just tweaked him, in his brain. But I think that's definitely a very good point to bring up for sure.
Do you feel anything just the fact of like basically not having any training camp? I mean, I know guys are making an adjustment. It could be something as simple as that because I mean everyone has
Yeah.
to adjust to COVID. Do you think it's simply like is this a guy that he needs to get the sparring rounds in? Is that why maybe he was uncomfortable on the feet?
Yeah, that could also definitely be it. And I mean, I'm Tim was supposed to face somebody else too, right? Royval was a replacement fighter in the first
I know
place, I
Roy Val
think.
was supposed to go against Rivera. Was Tim Elliott was Tim Elliott was supposed to, I gotta pull this up now. Just a second.
Yeah.
I know Roy Val was going to be on the Contender Series, and he got thrown in against Tim Elliott, which was like, wow, like that was like one of the things people were saying. Like you went from fighting to get into the UFC and the
Yeah.
Contender Series to suddenly have to fight a guy who fought for the title. Not, take that as it
'Cause-
is. So I was looking at going off of Tapology. They don't have any fights booked for Tim Elliott. Like they have like the missed fight.
yeah.
I don't remember, but I think you
Hmm.
might be thinking the other way with
Maybe that was it.
yeah. Before
Either way.
that, speaking of flyweights, we had two former flyweights fighting in a bantamweight matchup. Luis Smoker and Casey Kenny. I like Casey Kenny. I've been big on this guy's skills. He's well rounded. He's made improve. He's a good wrestler, very good grappler, but his hands are getting good. Really, like he was cut off the cage. It was kind of not really giving Louis Smoker much to work with. I just feel like he was just better than Smoker everywhere. I don't really have much to say other than that. It's just like to me, this was my lock of the night. I thought it was the easiest fight to pick on the card, and it delivered. Is anything to take from this?
No, I mean, I honestly wasn't too sold on Kenny yet, but this performance, yeah, was very, very impressive, very good. Yeah, not much to say about it. I mean, Smolka was working the body very well and consistent with that, so maybe that's something to, look for and shoring up defensively on the feet for Kenny in the future. But I mean, it's not often that people go in with such a body shot heavy game plan like Smolka was going for. That was pretty much exclusively the strikes he was throwing. Because I remember seeing the stat, it was like, all right, 22 strikes to the body to 4 for like Smolka, but then he was taking all the others to the head. It was very flip flopped in that regard. For a while, it lasted, 3-minute fight, but yeah, very good performance, very impressive by Kenny. Not much to say. It was really good.
Yeah, the only thing I'd also say about Kenny, so Kenny's 3-1 in the UFC now. Ray Borg fight, his open fight in the UFC. That's a fight that a lot of people thought he lost, but it was extremely close regardless against a former title challenger, Ray Borg. That's a very, very tough fight for your debut. Takes on Manny Bermudez. He's a former flyweight going against Manny Bermudez. He can't make weight in any weight class. Manny Bermudez missed weight, like die far. Still won that fight. Lost to Marab. That was my Craig Allen impersonation of Matt Serra. Marab Devashvili. And then who's beaten so many people and then beat Louis Smoker. So he's 3-1 in the UFC. The only thing, and I think this simply might be because of how shallow flyweight is compared to bantamweight. If he can make the weight class, I'm actually interviewing this week. I don't know if it's a possibility, but if he can't, then ignore this. But if he can still make flyweight, I would like him to move back down to flyweight and instantly propel himself. I mean, to me, he's right away top 10 talent. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I'd have to look at the top 10, but he's probably definitely right around there. Yeah, I would much prefer him at. It's not like bantamweight needs him necessarily. He makes it more fun, of course, but yeah, flyweight. That's that would be better too. So we'll see. Get the scoop. Get the scoop, Shillan.
Yeah. Oh no. That's literally like the first. I like to write notes on the side. I want to remind. I'm definitely asking him about flyweight. And just the line to get a title shot at bantamweight is so long, especially when they give title shots to guys coming off losses like Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo. So yeah, it makes the line even longer. Speaking of making the line longer, I don't know where this transition was coming, but Vince Morales versus Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez, oh my God, beat him pillar to post. I love the feints he was using. He was feinting himself in. Leg kick, just absolute destruction. Chris Gutierrez, props on destroying a guy with leg kicks, but even more props are calling out Michael Bisping. I guess Michael Bisping commentated last fight. Wasn't that complimentary of him in a win? and he went after Michael Bisping and said, "How was that performance?" So hey, Chris Gutierrez, good for you, brother.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't see that, but yeah, no, this was a really just brilliant stuff by Gutierrez. Great way to start the night. I mean, borderline flawless. I mean, he didn't really do anything wrong. It was just great to see. You always love seeing some good leg kicks and result in a TKO, right? Gotta love it.
There you guys have it. We've covered all the fights. We got to close this up, but before we do, we get to play some fun stuff. Cut list. Is there anybody you're cutting after the night? If you were, they charge you something like. I thought about Vince Morales, but I'm going to give him another shot. Clitzen Abreu.
Yeah, I haven't been too high on Abreu.
It's such a shallow debate. It's hard. It's such a shallow. I'm keeping everyone. I'm in a good mood. It was such a great card. I'm good. Yeah. I'm keeping everyone. Are you cutting anybody?
I mean, was Morales lost 3 in a row now?
Or is it just 2? Up. No, 2 in a row. He did get a win. He beat Eamon Zahabi.
Okay. Yeah, let's be generous. It was a great night of fights. Everybody can stay. Get one more shot if you need it.
We're trying to be positive there.
Let's be nice. Yeah.
Around. And you know me, I'm willing to cut people. A couple fighters that are right on that neck to be fighting for their careers. Vince Morales, Clitzen Abreu, Hannah Cipher is another one who'd be fighting for a career.
She could.
If you're not familiar with this portion, I should have told you. In all fairness, I did not tell Drake about this. We do the Bulls and the Bears. If you're not familiar with the Bulls and Bears, it's a stock market reference. Bulls is when the stock market is rising up. Bears is when it's crashing down. So I'll start first. I know I didn't give you warning on this. I'll give you my 3 bulls. That means people are rising. My number 3 bull is a guy that I was on the fence with. Brandon Royval. Say what you want. You jump right in. You got to get you ranked after your first fight in the UFC. Get a finish over a former guy who fought for the title. Brandon Royval, my number 3. My number 2 is just based on potential. I'm going with Jamal Hill. First round knockout. Absolutely. If it was a fight, it was a flawless victory. And number 1, how could it not be Gilbert Burns? The guy went from some people, not many, but some people complaining, should we give Gilbert Burns, a main event to people calling for him to get a title. So Gilbert Burns has been on a roll. So that's been my 3 bulls. Do you have any bulls for us?
Yeah, Burns obviously number 1, I think. And then let's see if scanning the card real quick, putting me on the spot. I think I would go Gutierrez number 2.
Yeah,
that was such a good performance. And then in the 3 spot, probably Roosevelt Roberts, honestly. That was when you look at, if I'm taking all the best performances, those are probably my top 3. So Burns clearly number 1, and then the number 2 and 3 are interchangeable. But yeah, I think that'd be my lineup.
And if I give one more, how about Factory X? Factory X took a lot of heat at the last one, especially Mark Montoya.
Yeah, they did.
I was going off about Mark Montoya. I'm not a big fan, not personally. His cornering, as far as I know, he could be a great guy. I'm not trying to personally say I'm not a fan. But it was a good night for Factory X. Both Chris Gutierrez and Brandon Royval. I don't think they lost fights, right? Just those 2. They were 2-0 night, so good night for Factory X. Let's go to the Bears. These are people who had a bad night. I will give my number 3 through 1. Number 3, Tim Elliott. This guy, he's lost, 3 fights in a row. He was winning this fight. I feel like he found a way to lose. He's going to be out of the rankings. He might be cut. I wouldn't be shocked because of the division. I don't think he will, but not a good night. My number 3. My number 2, Tyron Woodley. He's lost 10 rounds in a row. I'm talking for him to fight guys that might not even be ranked anymore. I'm thinking his career is ending with like a 1 win in his last 6 fights type deal. I think that's going to be.
Oof.
And my number 1, and I'm going to go 1 and 1B. It's going to go. These are going to go 2 together. Number 1 bear for the night, Antonina Shevchenko, and me for picking Antonina Shevchenko for beating Caitlin Chikagian. So we're both bears. Yes, I picked the main event perfect, but I'm still going to bash myself for believing in Antonina Shevchenko. So my top 3 bears: Tim Elliott, Tyron Woodley, and Tuna Shevchenko. Drake, you got any bears for us?
No, I completely agree with your list. That was actually who I was thinking of right as you were saying it. So, yeah, I mean, I'd probably put you as 1A, but, perfect otherwise.
All right. How about a last one for a grade, overall grade? We do like a report card style. What would your grade if you were a teacher and this was your student? How would you score the card?
I think very very solid B. Yeah, I think a B is about perfect. Yeah, that sounds about right. Definitely a good card. Not the best card ever, I don't think, but above average. It was good. Very very good.
Yeah, I'm actually going much higher. I'm giving it a full A. I mean, we had the prelims was absolute fire. I mean, we had tons of stoppages. We had a record in Mackenzie Dern. We had, I believe, a candidate for Fight of the Year in Spark Carlisle and Billy Quintero. I think we have a beatdown of the year candidate in Gilbert Burns on Tyron Woodley. To me, overall, absolutely fantastic. A lot of crap that's going on. It was in the world. Perfect outlet, perfect night for escape. Keep everyone's mind off all the crap. So I'm giving it an A. Next card will be returning next week. We got a pay-per-view, man. It doesn't seem like a pay-per-view on top, but actually, in my opinion, a pretty deep card. But not really top-heavy. But before I go, I always make my guest tell us who does he like in the main event of the next card. The main event is a battle for the women's featherweight championship. Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. Who do you have, Drake?
Well, it's kind of hard to go against Amanda Nunes in this fight. So I will say that I think the winner is the featherweight division. No, the division. No, I'm definitely taking Nunes here, but I think that people are really sleeping on Felicia. I like this matchup. I don't think she'll win, but I think she'll have some moments. I mean, this is a legit featherweight, guys. It's not like
she's
one of
a thick
Cyborg's
woman. She's a thick woman.
Not one of Cyborg's fights where a bantamweight's coming up to fight her. This is an actual top featherweight in the world. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very fun, interesting matchup. If it goes to the ground, that's where it's going to be the most fun, most interesting, I think. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight, of course, but you can't go against Nunes.
You are from the Northwest. You are right there, and you still won't take the Canadian.
she's not a real Canadian.
You won't take the. She's got the. I'm looking at the picture. She's got the Canadian stripe going down her right eyelid. She got it right down. Just for the record, I cannot make a prediction until the MMA Take want to do my full predictions. That said, my wife's from Canada, and I guarantee when we watch the fight together, she'll be rooting for Felicia Spencer. I won't be rooting for anybody except for whatever my pick is.
Exactly.
Anyways, guys, we have covered it. We have done the most in-depth breakdown on the internet. That's what we like to challenge everybody of UFC on ESPN 9. Drake, tell everyone where to follow you.
All right, you can follow me at Drake Riggs _ on Twitter and Instagram. Mostly on Twitter is where you can find all my stuff. It's all there. Yeah, follow me there.
And guys, my name is Keith Shillan. You can follow me on Twitter, Keith Shillan. My last name is spelled Shillan. So at Keith Shillan MMA on Twitter. Guys, we'll be back with a recap next week. Special announcement that Drake doesn't even know about yet. But I'm super excited. Don't even ask Drake because I'm not telling you off the air. Super exciting news that's going to break this week. And it's going to be all about UFC 250 here with Loudmouth. I can't wait to announce it. And guys, thanks for listening.